Happy Earth Day from Daikaiju Network Podcast, where we have a healthy obsession with kaiju. I am your co-host, Kent, and with me is your other co-host,
Jason. How's it going, everyone?
And so here we are, we're doing Kaiju Kamen Rider episodes 19 through 21 for this particular episode. And before we proceed with Kamen Rider, Jason, housekeeping.
Yes, a little bit of the usual housekeeping here. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you see the subscribe button down below, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as smash the like button. And you can find us everywhere all in one place at our link tree link there / Daikaiju Network. And we're on the following video platforms besides YouTube. We're on Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, and as well as Odyssey. And we have audio platforms as well, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, as well as TuneIn. And you can find both audio and video versions of our episodes right over at our own website at daikaijunetwork.com.
Yeah, and so one thing about next month, as far as podcasts go, we're only going to have one podcast next month. It's going to be on May 6th, and it's going to begin a little bit later, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, because my son has a soccer game that's going to run late that day. So for the 0 people that actually watch us for our live stream podcasts, there's a reminder for you that we're going to start later. Yep. And then on top of that, what we're going to be covering is, instead of Spectrum Man, May this year marks the 25th anniversary of the 1998 Godzilla TriStar movie. Mm-hmm. And so what Jason and I decided to do was to have a general discussion about the film, its legacy, all sorts of stuff, kind of similar to what we did with Kong back in March. And some of you may not care for the movie or whatever. That's too bad. But I think the movie is still very important. It is, obviously, if you've been listening to us long enough, it's a personal favorite of mine. And I think there's a lot to be said about how influential the movie was, especially in a positive way. And I have a sort of a way of looking at the movie that is different from what anyone else has mentioned about it over 2.5 decades. It's been one that I have told Jason about a little bit. I told him about it like 3-4 months ago, something to that extent, and I had been meaning to write it up as an article on our site, but I just didn't do it. And so this particular discussion will give me the opportunity to bring up this new way of looking at the movie, and this new way of looking at a Godzilla movie where a lot of people just simply dismiss as being a giant popcorn movie, which on the one hand, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, I think it's a wrong way of looking at this particular Godzilla movie, because most of your Godzilla movies tend to have some type of theme or message to them. And I do believe that the 98 movie has been way too easily dismissed as being nothing more than just a monster on the loose film, that there really is something to it. My hope is that this message will get out there and people will kind of look at the movie a little bit differently and just in general respect it more, instead of looking at it from a superficial manner that so many have for 2.5 decades and have simply hated it for it. And I'm not going to apologize for saying this, for a bunch of stupid reasons, that this movie deserves more credit than it has received for 25 years. So that's something I want to bring up too during our discussion here in a couple of weeks. So, and then something that came up this week, as I'm sure most of you that are paying attention at all to anything kaiju, the teaser trailer for Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, came out. And it's a 36-second teaser trailer of a Congo-like monkey basically showing his own collection. Well, I told Jason after I saw it here the other day, I said, it reminds me of one of those Congo monkeys.
Yeah. Like those kind of really deranged gorilla-like monkey
Here's the thing. Okay, quick, indulge me for a moment on Congo. That movie, yes, not the greatest movie you're ever going to see. But the movie, that too, has gotten a bad rap for so many years on just being what it is. We saw the movie, I think, twice in theaters. Like one time when it initially came out, and then when we visited a year or two later at our grandmother's, it was one of those special matinee type of films. And then I think we may have even seen it 3 times because I think we even rented it.
For me, I only remember seeing it once at the theater. Really? When we were at our grandma's there, and I don't think I've really seen it much since. I do remember, I think the latest I caught maybe a few minutes or a glimpse worth of that movie a year or two so ago. That was probably the most recent have at least caught it briefly. But I don't even think I've really seen it all the way through since seeing it in theaters many years ago.
Yeah, I purchased the DVD of it a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. I've yet to revisit it. And then I've been curious, too. I have it right here, and I'm not going to pull it out because what's going to happen is a Jenga tower collapse is going to happen. But I even purchased the novel by Michael Crichton. At some point, I'm going to get to it and read it. But my memories of that were that it was actually pretty decent. Again, it's not the greatest movie, but that movie, too, I think deserves more credit than it has received over the years, especially in a time where so much CGI inhabits most of our big sci-fi spectacle films. That's a movie that has a lot of crap. What's the term? Like actual effects, like suits
practical
and stuff.
effects.
Practical effects, yeah. It has a lot of practical effects in it, men in suits and stuff. So I think, again, if you haven't watched Congo in an awfully long time, it's probably worth checking out. Again, I'm not saying it's Academy Award worthy. I mean, fuck the Academy anyway. But it's a movie that it really is a lot of fun.
But what do you think of the official title for the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong sequel?
It's actually got me excited because I remember you and I, we were talking a month or two ago. You had brought up something about the movie, and I said I wasn't all that excited. And typically I get excited about this sort of thing, especially when you're talking about a reuniting of Godzilla and Kong. And I said part of it was because I haven't heard much of anything. And on top of that, I thought maybe the whole thing was more or less concluded with Godzilla versus Kong. And seeing this teaser, first and foremost, I like the title. It's sort of, in a way, I think is a wink and a nod to longtime Godzilla fans, especially those who grew up and are familiar with the Millennium Era with the X in between their names and the title. On top of that, too, I really like this direction that it seems to be going, a slightly darker, more vicious mode. That's something I was hoping we would get with Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm not totally against the slightly lighter tone that film had, but I thought for something that was a big reuniting of the two most iconic, gigantic monsters, that maybe would take a bit more of a serious tone than it did. I like this where I am assuming anyways, it's going to be like some long lost relative or ancestor of Kong that, I don't know, had a bad day or something and is looking to be the villain. I still believe, because there have been enough rumors swirling around, that I think there's going to be another Toho Kaiju coming back. It's just a question of who is it going to be. But I'm excited now after seeing that teaser and all that. I'm really excited to see this film. And
same here.
There was a rumor going around too that a possible picture of the new Toho 2023 Godzilla film was leaked, but I've been hearing conflicting information as to whether or not that picture was legitimate or not. But that's supposed to be coming out later this year too.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about that since they announced it at Godzilla Day last November. Just with that teaser poster that they had with that kind of the handwritten kind of Japanese calligraphy of a G on a white background. That was about it. I haven't heard much about it since, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to what's in store with the upcoming MonsterVerse films, especially after seeing that teaser, because, you know, with kind of this more of a lanky Khan looking kaiju there, and just the way his eyes are glowing, kind of makes me think that he'll have some kind of latent power that he uses, or special ability that uses. And some people out there have been kind of rumoring something like with electricity, like the Khan in 1962 has used, or something of that sort, or probably obtain some kind of like the power that powers the Hollow Earth, like those blue looking elements and stuff that we've seen floating around, and all that. Maybe tapped into that sort of power. I mean, there could be other possibilities.
That would be funny if this, I'm just going to call it a Kong, if this particular Kong beast is indeed modeled after the version. I think that would be kind of funny if that were true.
That's actually what I was thinking of, about the other day. Is like, I wonder if they make this Lanky Khan sort of a callback to the 1962 version, because there's quite a few scenes within that movie where his arms and stuff, where he kind of looked like a little lanky, and
I like your name, Lanky Kong.
Some sort of instances. Yeah.
It's Lanky Kong. I can't take that seriously.
Some of them have dubbed him Cranky Kong.
Well, yeah, he looks cranky.
Yeah. And then alongside the title reveal for Godzilla X Kong, they Tsuburaya Productions have also revealed the next Ultraman that'll be premiering July 8th here within the next few months, called Ultraman Blazar or Blazar. Not sure how they.
It's Blazar.
Yeah, so it's. I'm not sure if you've seen the new look for that new Ultraman.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool looking,
it's interesting.
Yeah, kind of your not usual design for an Ultraman. That's all I can sort of say. So, and
the OCD side of me looks at that and I'm like, that's not symmetrical.
And yeah, and kind of seems like they're going more with a military type of main character of some sorts within here, or kind of more kind of tactical sort of approach when it comes to this division, or whoever is going to be kind of like the science patrol of this series. But yeah, so after watching that teaser, it seems to be pretty promising in a way, but we'll have to check when that premieres July 8th. And wish I would have watched more of the previous season, Ultraman Decker. I've only watched at least a few episodes and just didn't even get around to it since, so I'm probably guessing the Tsuburaya YouTube channel has taken those down for the time being, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So, otherwise, if there's anything else you want to talk about, we can go into the meat and potatoes of the episode.
Just a brief thing, like, and again, you know, Mill Creek is teaming up with Disney for about the next 10 years. I still haven't heard anything as to whether or not Mill Creek is still going to be picking up any of these Ultraman titles.
I could have sworn that I did see a more recent Facebook post on some sort of Ultraman related thing. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, because I mean, like I've said numerous times on this podcast, I'm a little hesitant to watch a lot of the newer Ultraman stuff, just because a lot of things about it just don't really click with my sensibilities. That doesn't mean I hate them. It's just I just don't get the enjoyment out of them like I do with a lot of the older ones. There's something about and a lot of people are going to hate this term I'm about to use, but I can't think of any other word, and I don't care for the term I'm about to use either. But the cheapness of some of the looks of the suits and even other effects, but again, it's similar to what I've said with the Showa era Godzilla and Gamera films. There's a charm with a lot of that older stuff that seems to have been missing in a lot of the contemporary versions of it. And I've mentioned this too with both Gamera and Godzilla, that kind of once you get into 80s and 90s stuff, that charm that was there from the 50s through the 70s is kind of missing. And the little, like the couple of relatively recent Ultraman movies that I've seen, like Mega Monster Battle and that sort of thing, while fun in their own way, I don't find myself enjoying them as much as I do like the original Ultraman and like the first 8 episodes I've seen so far of Ultraman Leo. And
you're one of them kind of people, eh?
I am one of them people. You got a problem with that?
Yes, I do, mister.
Why we're talking about like cowboys?
I have no idea.
But yeah, I mean, I'm ready to talk Kamen Rider.
All right, let's start off with episode 19. The title for me is Monster Connie Bubbler Appears in Hokkaido.
That's the same title I have, except after I found out kind of what they're actually naming it in the subtitles, I just changed Connie Bubbler to Crab Bubbler. That's what it means.
Yeah. So it starts out where we see a couple of fishermen on a little fishing boat in Osaka Bay, and then a minor tsunami comes in and just kind of tips them over. I don't know if they died or something. I don't think they would die from some. We don't see them again, as
far as I remember.
Yeah, and we see Connie Bubbler rise up from Osaka Bay. So,
and he cackles. I love his cackle. It's like the Beavis cackle, like 2 decades before Beavis came onto the scene.
But higher pitched in a way. But seems like that he sort of caused this minor tsunami, and then we get to see a couple of scientists at this seismometer observatory place, and
in Otaru.
And then we see Connie Bubbler go into this electrical room of this place where these scientists were at, cuts off the electricity, and then the scientists stumble upon or see him, and then kills the 2 scientists there. And then after that, we get to see the Shocker later planning to detonate some small nuclear explosions to cause tsunamis and all that. So that's the reason why Connie Bubbler cuts off the electricity to the seismometer there. And then we get to see in the next scene, was it Kanda? He finds this mini transceiver from the Shocker, which Connie Bubbler had at the time, and while he killed this random diver,
a rando.
So he takes it with him, and then Hayato chases the Shocker minions, turns into Kamen Rider, battles them, as well as Connie Bubbler, saving Kanda when Connie Bubbler retrieves the mini transceiver back and then kidnaps Kanda there. And then Hayato tracks down the Shocker base using shortwave radio and all
I got
that.
a thing to say about that.
And so after that, he travels over to the observatory, chases down the minions, transforming into Kamen Rider once more and confronting Connie Bubbler and Taki and Kanda while Kamen Rider was beating up on the minions and Connie Bubbler, that they were taking the time to trying to pinpoint like the base off of the bay or something there, and then Kamen Rider heads over there once he comes back to see the map of the pinpointed location, infiltrates and confronts Connie Bubbler and the minions for one last time, prevents the bombs from exploding, and then defeats Connie Bubbler in the end there.
So I've noticed this one thing in the past, but I seem to have noticed it more in this particular batch. Is there a Shocker Championship Wrestling League?
You know, I was sort of thinking about that because it seems like both Connie Bubbler and the next henchman in the next two episodes, which is the same one, it seems like that they all of them are wearing the same ones. Yeah.
All the minions have belts. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that waters down your championship if you have that many titles being spread out. Second of all, I want to see the Shocker Championship Wrestling League, because those are not belt buckles. Those are not regular buckles. Those are championship belts. And I want to see this wrestling league being done within Shocker.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I saw that. I was like, those kind of look like wrestling belts there, but then when you look at them more, it's just more or less the emblem of the Shocker insignia there,
which is very Nazi-like, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to have something like that. But in all seriousness, though, too, I like the look of Crab Bubbler. I think the Shocker General suits have gradually gotten better with time. And in fact, just to even kind of look ahead the next two episodes, the Dokugonder or Toxic Mothra suits, both in Caterpillar and Final Moth form, I think are spectacular as well. I just think these suits started off from being, you know, serviceable suits, and in rare cases excellent, to now consistently being excellent. I mean, they're really, really good. They mold appropriate headgear and appendages when necessary, and other features as well, depending upon whatever it is that they're trying to model the Shocker General out of. So I really love the Crab Bubbler look. And like I said, I love his cackle. I love it.
And speaking about the appearance of these Shocker Generals suits and everything, yeah, I would say that the Connie Bubbler ones, particularly the head part, is one of the better looking ones in the series by far, along with Dokugander, the moth form there.
I would even say the caterpillar form is really good too.
But I would say, even though all three of them are good, I would probably put that one at least last, and then have the Dokugander moth form second, and then probably Connie Bubbler being the first one, just simply because of the complex design of the head part for Connie Bubbler.
Yeah, I mean, again, they're just getting better and better, I think, as time goes on. Okay, getting back to the radio frequency thing, I think this was used more as a means of padding out the episode, because as we have talked about numerous times when we've discussed this show, that it's been sort of a running gag, not only with us, but really even the show itself, where Kamen Rider magically shows up at Shocker bases. And now all of a sudden in episode 19, we're having to use radio frequency waves to pinpoint where a Shocker hideout is, when in the past he just happens to know and shows up. I mean, to me, this was the padding out the story. It's
sort of the same thing like Spectre Man has done, but not as bad as compared to Spectre Man with that turning back time thing.
Well,
that's
we've
really going a bit too far
here. Kamen Rider is the higher quality show, and Spectre Man, I don't want to completely dump on that show because it has some entertaining qualities to it as well. But Spectre Man is a disaster though when it comes to writing and all that compared to Kamen Rider. Say what you want about Kamen Rider, it is in better shape than Spectre Man is.
Yeah, and then what was one of the other things? Oh, I liked. I think it was in this episode where you had Connie Bubbler, or I'm thinking of Doko Gander in this one, where he sprays out his foam on some of the people, and then all of a sudden they just completely disappear in the next frame of the shot or something like that, or they just fade out. It's not just showing any skeletal remains or anything like we've seen in earlier episodes of Kamen Rider. They just completely disappear.
Well, and along those lines, one of the other things I wanted to touch upon with that is that, isn't it convenient that, okay, he spits this, we'll just call it bubbly because he's called Crab Bubbler. He spits this bubbly substance out, and for basically anybody it touches, it dissolves them. But then in the final battle, he sprays it in Kamen Rider's face, and all it does is temporarily blind him. It doesn't kill him. And I'm thinking, wonderful. How convenient that our it just I'm not really surprised by that, but it's frustrating because, once again, we talked about it ad nauseum here last time with Spectre Man. We've talked about it a few times here with Kamen Rider, but it's the breaking of the rules. It's contrivances just so your hero, not only comes out on top, but it ends up in an underlying sense kind of projected upon as being this uber individual.
And the other thing I want to point out, since you mentioned about breaking the rules, in one of the scenes where they when Kamen Rider confronts the Chakra minions and Connie Bubbler for the second time, where he was traveling out to find the base and everything after reading the shortwave radio frequencies and all that stuff. And he says, where's the base and everything, while beating down one of the minions. And then I think he was there at one point, maybe at one of the bases there, and then goes back, and then it's like, weren't you over at the base or something already? It's like, why did you have to go back and look at the map of the pinpointed location when you were kind of already there?
Yep. I mean, it speaks for itself.
But otherwise, it's episode 19 is a really good episode, besides some of the shortfalls and some of kind of the a little bit of bending the rules and such.
Yeah. For me, for my final thoughts and grade, I wrote, it's not a bad episode. I love the plot of attempting to create a tsunami near Otaro and using a really cool-looking crab-like villain is the icing on the cake. I enjoy most of the story, but found a few plot points to be head-scratching, such as needing to locate the radio signal when that has never been much of an issue in the past. The action is fun, and the villain is great as well, and I gave it an A-.
Yeah, for me, Connie Bubbler, a really good-looking suit for the Shocker General there. A pretty good episode overall, with some minor criticisms here and there, a little bit of rule bending as well, but otherwise they still stuck with the overall formula of Kamen Rider in here, so I gave episode 19 a B+.
We're more or less on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so episode 20, I have it titled as Fire-Breathing Caterpillar Monster Dokugander.
That's the same for me, too.
All right.
Yeah, because this time when watching these 3 episodes, I decided to watch the Shout Factory version that's on Tubi here, just to kind of give a little bit of a test run of Tubi. so they might bad. Yeah, so they might line up this time around.
Finally.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and give a quick plot overview?
Yeah, with this one, it just kind of starts out with us being with this professor and an assistant professor out in the nature, trying to grab some insect specimens here, and then we have the professor stumbling upon a large caterpillar, which obviously turns out to be Dokugander there, and the professor gets frightened and then falls off a cliff afterwards. And then next up we see the Rider girls cooling off near a river, and then hearing kids singing at a nearby school. And then once they go over there, kind of talking with the kids and the teacher there, a random villager comes up telling the people there that they're going to be leaving this village the next day after a lot of people have been mysteriously disappearing around the waterfall area, and then talking about this giant man-eating caterpillar there, and then Tachibana and Hayato meet basically the same villagers fleeing there, saying the same thing, so they're kind of looking out for the Rider girls here, which they run into a stranger, which he dresses somehow in formal attire with a top hat.
Thank you.
Not sure sort of the reason behind that, but it's actually Dokugander in disguise leads them into this kind of abandoned place, traps them. So Tachibana, Hayato, and this assistant professor go look for the Rider girls until Tachibana gets ambushed by the Shocker minions. And Hayato and the assistant professor finds the camera of the missing professor there, and where Hayato runs into the minions, transforms into Kamen Rider, and battles them along with Dokugander there. And Kamen Rider traces Tachibana through his pipe transmitter. Again, sort of like the previous episode, kind of tracks down with shortwave radio frequency here, and then finds the Shocker base under the waterfall there, and he finds the Gain there strapped onto electrified cross as battles both Dokugander and the minions rescuing the Gain, where Tachibana goes into this explosive room, sets off one of the boxes of dynamite there, destroying the base, and then a few minutes after that, you get Kamen Rider battling Dokugander and defeating him for for the last time in this episode, where we see Dokugander falling into the river and then all of a sudden transforming into this cocoon and just floating down the river there.
I laughed at that too because it was unintentionally funny, because as soon as he hits the water, boom, pops up this cocoon. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that doesn't happen that fast.
At first I was like, did he poop out a cocoon or something?
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that was you have to, it's one of those things you have to see because it's unintentionally funny of just how they filmed it. It's funny. But you brought up the whole formal attire of Dokugander in his human form. And I saw that and I go, yeah, that's not a Disney trope there where this guy's the villain because he's wearing sunglasses, he's wearing a suit jacket, another formal attire, and a top hat. I'm going, yeah, this is what people wear when they go out into the forest. Yeah. Sure.
And the other thing I want to touch upon is the last part of the episode there, where Dokugander floats down the river inside of that cocoon there, and you see Hayato there kind of looking at it. You would have thought that he would just destroy Dokugander right then and there with him being vulnerable in that state, instead of just watching him down the river and then him probably going somewhere and doing other evil deeds in the next episode, which fortunately we get for episode 21 here. It's like, why let him go? Because he's part of the Shocker crew. You should, try to illuminate them as fast as possible.
They already hit their 30-minute time marker, so that's why. That's why. But yeah, I saw that too, and I'm like, he could have done like Rider Punch or Rider Kick or Rider Hopscotch and taken care of that cocoon. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, again, contrived. I'm willing to go with it. One of the things that I thought was very meta was initially when Kamen Rider meets Dokugander, he says, "So you're Shocker's boss this week." So I was like, wow, okay, this show is getting meta.
You can say it's kind of breaking the fourth wall in a way.
You just need him to go and just wink at the camera or something.
But yeah, otherwise I do like the design of the caterpillar form of Dokugander,
which also is named Toxic Mothra,
or Poison Mothdar, or Mothdar.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's a pretty interesting look and design for a Shocker general in a way. And at first I sort of thought like the little legs and stuff kind of along the side of the chest, I thought that they were sort of nipples.
I know. Well,
like
it does look
nipples.
like that. Yeah, I'm like, uh-oh. But I kind of knew they were legs, but yeah, the way they were molded, they look like boobs. So, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, I do like the suit. It's really well done. It definitely looks like a fuzzy caterpillar. I thought it was funny during one of the sequences of the final battle where Toxic Mothra gets flipped over. It's for a very brief moment, you see part of the blue fuzzy material from his back falls off.
Oh, really?
Goes
I didn't
into
quite
the
notice.
creek. Yeah, it's you have to note it. It's in the bottom part of the screen where you'll see it fly off and land into the creek. But I like the trap that Toxic Mothra has for Kamen Rider a little bit later in the episode, where he has Tachibana and the biker girls, or whatever you want to call them, captured and has them strapped to electrodes to electrocute them. But here we go again. Here's where the problem is that he does actually begin to electrocute them, and either once again due to contrivances, which I do believe is the reason, or because he's stupid and only like shocked him with a low level type of electricity level. They all survive, walk off with no issues whatsoever, and they're strapped and being electrocuted for like what, 45 seconds or something like that.
And you would think with sort of the contraptions for the electricity, how big those things were per cross that each of the game were strapped onto, you would think that it would produce high enough voltage to maybe kill someone within 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, and I saw that too, and the fact that they were being electrocuted for a decent amount of time, I thought, I know they're going to live, but that definitely breaks this whole rule of you want to raise the stakes, you want to make it seem like your heroes and their friends could be put into situations occasionally where bad stuff could happen to them. Mm-hmm. But then this completely breaks all that, even though you understand this is a kid's show and they're the good guys very rarely. I mean, you'll see it more in Japanese shows than you do in American shows, but even then okay, they'll come out of this fine, but you still want to have those moments where if you cross a certain line, your heroes and or their friends could end up being seriously hurt or killed or something to that point. And what ends up happening here is you realize it doesn't matter. They probably could have a gun pointed to their head at point blank range, have it go off, and they would somehow survive that too. The way that they had this whole scene set up really sets a bad tone moving forward, because you realize, okay, you understand at other points this group is going to get captured by other shocker villains and put in harm's way, but you realize it's not going to matter. Either Kamen Rider is going to show up in the nick of time, which happens in a lot of these hero type shows regardless of whether they're east or west, or even if something bad is happening to them, like in this case with them being electrocuted, they're going to walk away. Mm-hmm. And that's disappointing. And like I said, even though in the back of your head these people are going to walk away anyways, you want to be able to have the show still make you believe, even for a brief moment, that this could be the end. Like, this is a line to where it's too far, that unless something heroic happens, these guys are in deep trouble. And they proved to me here that it's not going. And like I said, I knew they were going to walk away, but the way they do it, the prolongedness of them being electrocuted is the real problem that I have here. Yeah,
but I know that I mentioned the one time when we were going through the list of the Rider girls, how long that they're going to be sticking around, and I think one of them is going to be sticking around until, I believe, episode 23 or something like that. We never see them again, so may see something happen for next time in the next couple of months whenever we revisit Kamen Rider, because that's going to be in the next batch of episodes that we're going to be talking about. But we'll have to see it. But yeah, I mean, it's a kid's show, so they're probably not going to show as much. Although they sort of showed some gruesome scenes earlier in the series.
Yeah, earlier in the series. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. yeah.
With some skeletal remains and some blood and all that, but not quite as much blood compared to that Shin Kamen Rider teaser that I've seen.
Yeah, I know some people are defending the violence, saying it's very reminiscent of what this original series was. And I would say, yeah, up to a point that is true, but I would argue it's nowhere. the difference is in the brutality. The brutality of this original series is nowhere near what is being depicted in that Shin Kamen Rider moment. And I would even argue, though, too, the blood spatters, the number of them, and just the way that they're filmed is made to be more shocking than what we have seen in the series as well. So we'll talk about Shin Kamen Rider at some other point. Yeah. But yeah. So my final thoughts on this episode and rating is I really enjoyed this episode as well. The Shocker Generals seemingly are looking better as time progresses, and the stories are exploring some fun ways for Shocker to attack Rider and to try and destroy parts of Japan. However, I found the surviving the electrocution by Tachibana and others to be very convenient and against any means of trying to up the stakes while putting characters into any real danger. This moment took every suspension of disbelief I had, which wasn't a lot to begin with, of course, concerning that Ryder's friends could be in any mortal danger. Sure, it's a kid's show, and the odds of any of them dying was next to zero, but you still want to believe they could die in certain situations. Regardless, it's a fun episode that I'm looking forward to the conclusion to, and I gave it an A- as well.
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, for this one, it's sort of like the one Spectre Man episode, what was it, episode 15, where they were just kind of in one location throughout the entire episode, not going anywhere else. Just only the forest and then the base there. That's pretty much the entire scenes or settings for this episode. So pretty much what I mentioned in the synopsis, that's kind of pretty much all happens here. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot happens compared to the previous episode here, but of course we still get some fights here and there and the like. And then, yeah, kind of some of the couple criticisms as far as that the electrocution part, and then Hayato just kind of letting Dokugander off the hook by being in the cocoon while floating down the river or the creek there, while not even finishing him off right then and there. So that's kind of dumb on his part. But otherwise, episode 20 is a pretty good episode. Good design of Dokugander here. The caterpillar form. So a pretty decent story. Again, some criticisms that I mentioned earlier, but otherwise I would give episode 20 a B-.
All right. So the final episode that we're covering here in this podcast, episode 21, it's titled Dokugander Confrontation at Osaka Castle.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right. You want to give a brief plot synopsis?
Yeah, let me scroll here. Yeah, so we get to see the same assistant professor at his university there. I think it's the Hashin University there, being interviewed by the press, saying that he had evidence of this large caterpillar, which is Dokugander. Went in to try to retrieve the evidence, but somehow they disappear. But then stumbles upon his professor just coming out randomly from the wall there in this same room that's being used from other previous episodes that you probably noticed.
Oh, man, we're on the same wavelength. We are on the same wavelength. I didn't know if you would catch that or not.
Oh, I knew right away as soon as they went to that shot there. With that, Hayato was traveling down the road there via motorcycle and gets confronted by Dokugander, the moth form, and battles him along with the minions there. And then you had Taki coming in, telling Hayato that Shocker's planning something in Osaka there. and then apparently he had Shocker pretty much kidnapping the assistant professor, and we get to find out that the professor turns out to be actually Gander in disguise.
Who didn't see
Shocker! No pun
intended.
And nextly, Gander wanted the assistant professor to make more cyborg Ganders using this special serum that apparently he invented, which I don't know why he wanted to make more, where did he come from? Made by a Shocker. Shocker should probably make more. So that's sort of kind of a plot hole in a way. And then, yeah, shut up.
And then say anything.
I know. just stopping you. So then we get to see one of the Rider girls running into the Shocker minions, fending him off from kidnapping one of the assistant professor's child, which apparently this daughter of the assistant professor is being disguised as one of the his daughter's friends or something. And then Hayato and Taki try to interrogate one of the Shocker minions, but they get ambushed by Gander and fight him off with having a brain fart here. Hayato turning into Kamen Rider, battling him and the like, and then the Shocker minions kidnap the two children here, and then am I going a little bit too far here? I think, let's see here, I'm trying to look at my notes. Okay, yeah, so the Rider girls. Yeah, I was going a little bit ahead here in my notes. So before the Shocker minions kidnap the two children, the Rider girls run into a disguised Tachibana. They're taking photos nearby the Osaka castle there, where they get confronted by Gander, and his minions kidnap them, and then they kidnap children there. And then they had them on crosses once more here, but not, equipped with like electrodes and all that. He was about to take them out until Kamen Rider all of a sudden just randomly arrives, fending them off and rescuing the game once again. And then you had Kamen Rider and Tachibana infiltrate the base, rescuing the I'm going ahead again. The assistant professor tricks Gander when adding his special serum to these cocoons that were in this sort of little fish tank there, and it was sort of a serum that dissolved the cocoons. Then Kamen Rider Tachibana come in and rescue the assistant professor, battles Gander and the minions once more along with Taki, and then he gets defeated, and that's pretty much it of episode 21.
Yeah. Again, another terrific suit here. Toxic Mothra looks very, very good. I mean, I love it an awful lot. Dare I say, the head part looks even more moth-like than we do from Mothra in the iteration as well. Because I looked at that and I go, that basically is anatomically accurate. And I forget the moth species that this one is more representative of. But I mean, not just the suit, but especially the head part of this suit looks incredible. I mean, I love the fact that even though obviously, again, for the umpteenth time, these shows are produced very quickly and usually the budget isn't all what you would want it to be, they decided, look, our villains are obviously a foundation for this series. We need to make sure that they look good.
And speaking
they do look good.
And speaking of tight budgets and then producing these episodes out fast, you can sort of see it within this episode, particularly when you had Taki's Jeep there exploding. You can definitely tell it was kind of a miniature set right there. And then as well as when Dokugander flies off, when we see him for the first time, you can definitely tell that was also a miniaturized set, and as well as a miniaturized Dokugander there, and as well as the final battle between Kamen Rider and Dokugander there, where they were kind of jumping around Osaka there. That was also miniature versions of Dokugander or Kamen Rider, as well as miniature buildings and set there of Osaka.
I find it funny. It's kind of that thing we've seen in cartoons periodically, including such shows as Family Guy, where it kind of pokes fun at pop culture, where Ryder does kind of a finisher on Toxic Mothra, and then Toxic Mothra lands on this building and not only blows up, but then there's another really big explosion that takes out the main building that he landed on, as well as surrounding buildings. I'm going, holy mackerel!
It's like was he equipped with explosives?
Nitroglycerin.
Yeah. It's like, was he equipped with explosions or explosives, or was the building itself was an Acme sort of explosive building?
It was one of those where it was a combination of holy crap and laughing at the same time, because it was funny, and you're like, wow. I mean, that was big for, a human-sized individual to like land. That's like if he were to land on my house, take out my house, and like 5 houses on either side of me.
Well, and then with those miniaturized Kamen Rider and Dokugander, when you see them compared to the buildings themselves, it seems like those miniatures were almost about the same size as the buildings, or possibly a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So
scale's off.
Yeah, scale was a little bit off. I wouldn't say a little bit, it was quite off.
Yeah, Dokugander is like 1 story tall.
Yeah.
It's not exactly how it goes. But again, I kind of let things like that go for the most part. It's still funny, nevertheless. One of the things that disappointed me, though, was when you see a title such as Confrontation at Osaka Castle. I really thought, oh, wow, this would be really awesome to have a battle at Osaka Castle, but it doesn't happen there. It happens kind of around it.
Yeah, mainly around the grounds of the castle.
Yeah, and I really thought, oh man, like if, granted, yes, I know it would be sets, but I thought maybe they would have sets that would involve things being inside of Osaka Castle. Maybe even Dokugander's base could be located like underneath the castle as well, or even just inside the castle, like up at the top level or something. I was getting really excited,
and then
when
have
I saw
like
that title.
Yeah, and have like a miniature set of the castle itself.
Yeah,
or like
because I really
explodes
was hoping
or something
for fun.
Yeah.
Well, and I through Godzilla movies and through other movies and shows that have had not only the Osaka Castle, but some of these other Japanese medieval castles. I love the aesthetics. I love how all these castles look, and even when they've done some shots that are supposed to represent the inside of one of these castles, I'm like, oh man, there's so much potential here you could have for something like this. And I was hoping we would get something similar to that here, but I mean, they like you said, it's just kind of around the grounds at best. You don't get it inside the castle or even right up next to the castle.
Yeah. And then one of the other problems, and I sort of mentioned about it earlier in the synopsis, is that Dokugander wanted the assistant professor to use this special serum to create more Dokugander cyborgs, which, I mean, you had the Shocker already sort of doing that when they created Dokugander to begin with, so why have someone else that was outside of the Shocker group there trying to make more of you when you had Shocker can do practically whatever they want, and they can make duplicates of Dokugander if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny. Newspaper for toilet paper, like, was that ever a thing? Like, my understanding was that people, if they recycled their newspaper, they were going to get rolls of toilet paper. Is that what it was supposed to be? Or were they turning newspaper into toilet paper?
I have no clue if that was...
That to me wasn't clear.
I have no clue if that was a thing back then. Who knows? I mean,
yeah.
if you're maybe sort of poor or something, or if you're somewhere and don't have access to toilet paper, that could be a possibility.
Well, yeah, but like I said, I didn't know if they were trading. Like, if you gave them newspaper you didn't want anymore, they would give you some toilet paper, or were they turning recycled newspaper into toilet paper? To me, that wasn't clear at all.
I probably would just assume that they'll use it to recycle and make toilet paper out of it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm spending enough time on it is because I've never heard of such a thing before. Like, I've never heard of anything like that here in the States, and nothing like that anywhere else until I saw it here in this episode, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, I mean, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. But it was just something that I found very interesting and wanted to learn a little bit more of. But I mean, this is another really fun episode. I think the conclusion of the Toxic Mothra storyline was fairly entertaining. That continued the uniqueness and silliness of the previous episode. I really dig the Toxic Mothra suit, and the plan of growing a number of moth cocoons to human size is another unique plot point that uses the attributes of the Shocker General of the week. The fights are fun and are aplenty. Another good episode. 3 for 3. Another A-.
Not bad, not bad. Yeah, I do like this version of Dokugander better than the Caterpillar version. One of the better ones, alongside with
a stronger defender of that,
along with Connie Bubbler there, and of course, sort of the basic premise here and there. Not sure why they want to add in to have an assistant professor try to make more Dokuganders when Shocker can do or duplicate as much as they want to. Go ahead.
He didn't make the Dokuganders. He had the serum that would make them grow bigger significantly faster, so that they would have more of an army to quickly be unleashed into combat. Rider. That was the reason. He had the serum to make him grow fast very quickly.
I mean, couldn't
grow fast very quickly. That was dumb. To make him grow big very quickly.
I mean, when Shocker has sort of the same thing too, just to make him progress faster, like they probably sort of did.
I don't
with
think they
Dokugander. Did. But
they were able to produce the cocoons fast, but they didn't have anything to make the cocoons grow to Dokugander size fast.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it's a pretty good episode with this one. Little bit of a couple downsides, I would say, as far as story. Sort of a little bit the same compared to the last episode, although we get more settings compared to the previous one, where it's just forestry countryside and then inside of the Shocker base here, and then kind of a nice setting of the Osaka Castle, and then pretty good miniatures here, although they were a little bit cheap compared to some of the other ones here, which you can definitely tell. But I mean, with kind of a tight budget and then fast producing episodes, I mean, sort of what you get with it. But otherwise, episode 21 is a pretty good episode. I would give this one a B.
So yeah, I mean, this whole section I thought was really good, and especially after Spectre-Man. And again, I know we talked about this a couple times before, and the whole Spectre-Man thing, which was also produced by Toei, was just kind of, I don't know if they were just given a smaller budget overall, or what the deal is behind that. But the Kamen Rider series, as goofy as it can be, is definitely head and shoulders above Spectre-Man. And again, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to, crap on Spectre-Man. It has some entertainment value with it for sure, but Kamen Rider is just a more solid series that I do find myself paying a lot more attention to the Kamen Rider episodes than I do Spectre-Man. Spectre-Man, a lot of times I kind of drift off, and unless Dr. Gory or Karas is on screen, I'm usually barely paying enough attention to just kind of get the gist of what's going on. So, yeah, I mean, a solid group of episodes here.
Yeah, definitely.
And so with that, we conclude this episode of Daikaiju Network Podcast. Another reminder that we will be back in a couple of weeks. However, we will be starting an hour and a half later. It'll be 2:30 Eastern Time, 2 Saturdays from now. And that will be our only podcast for the month of May. And instead of doing Spectre-Man, we are going to have a general discussion of the 1998 TriStar Godzilla movie. May marks the 25th anniversary of that film this year. And so we're going to be discussing not just the film itself, but kind of the impact and the legacy it has for the last 2.5 decades. And so I'm looking forward to that discussion. And yes, I will be praising the movie for the most part. So,
yeah, for the next probably 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, I see Jason in the back. I see at the very least 398 things, at least on the top shelf there.
Yeah.
So
You probably won't be able to see it on screen here, but you can at least see the miniature, the mini bank on the lower shelf right there.
Oh, right
still,
there, yeah. Still
in box right there. Most of the 98 ones, except for I think maybe one, that are still in box.
Yep. Fantastic film. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah. So before we sign off, I just want to do one final housekeeping here. If you're watching us on YouTube, and if you see the subscribe button down below, make sure to hit that button, as well as smash the like button as well, to kind of make the YouTube algorithm recommend us more. And you can find us everywhere all in one place at our Linktree page, right on your screen there, /Daikaiju Network. And besides YouTube, we're on Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, and as well as Odyssey for video platforms. And then on audio platforms, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, as well as TuneIn. And you can find both audio and video versions of our episodes at our own website at daikaijunetwork.com.
And with that, thank you so much for listening to us. And we will be back in a couple of weeks for our discussion on TriStar's Godzilla movie 25th anniversary.
All right.
Caught myself.
Indeed. We'll see you guys next time.